Welcome back to the final whistle in for another stream on the channel. And tonight we are going to discuss deep into Leicester City. It's been a torrid season so far, hasn't it? It's the Foxes 6-16. Still problems on and off the field. PSR, Marti under big pressure and all that. And where do Leicester City go from here? How do we turn it around? Can we turn it around? It's a big mess. It really is. And, you guys get your questions in tonight. The return of the Tan tonight. Rob Tanner returns to the channel. I know you guys have missed Rob, and you've been asking me, where is Rob Tanner? Tonight, the man returns. So, yeah, we're going to get him in a minute. We're going to get Dan in as well. Evening, everyone. Evening, Phil. Evening, JJ. Evening, Terry. If you've got any questions for Rob Tanner, by the way, get them in. We will get them to him. We are going to discuss quite a bit in this show, by the way. Certain aspects of the club that you guys want answers to. I think Rob will answer them the best way he can. Let's chat. Paul, how are we, mate? Evening, lads and lassies, another therapy session. Is that what we call it? Are you ready for it? Hi, Jack. It certainly is a mess. It's a mess it's a little mess made into an absolutely big pile of mess is what we call it. It's a big decline by Leicester. And are people being held accountable for what they've been doing? No, of course they haven't. But people get moved upstairs and people go and do what they prioritise at the end of the day. So we're going to get involved now. Let's get Dan in first. Dan, how are we?
All good, Jack. All good. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm as good as I can when it comes to talking about Leicester City, mate. The stress levels, and it's even turned you grey, Dan, mate. You're the voice of reason on this channel, mate, for a reason. You know, you're the man who's in between.
Yeah, although it's becoming harder and harder to be a voice of reason of late, to be honest. So, but we'll do our best. We'll do our best.
Should we get the Tan man in?
Absolutely. Get the
Let's
main
get him
man
in. Rob Tanner. Rob,
Good
how
evening.
are we?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Rob, they've missed you, mate. They've been asking, where are you? How you been, mate? How's personal life and that trip?
Yeah, I had to take a few months away from work for personal reasons, and my role's changed as well. So I'm not doing 2 or 3 articles on Leicester every week now for The Athletic. I'm doing a wide range of different things, including England, under 21 prospects and under 18 prospects around the game. Still getting around to do some matches as well. I was down at Newport on Saturday to witness Christian Fuchs' first home game as Newport County manager against Barrow. That was a great experience. Nice to meet Christian again. 10 years ago, he was providing that assist for the 11 heaven goal for Vardy and top of the Premier League. And he's starting his managerial career rock bottom in League Two. So good luck to him.
It didn't really go well in getting back for you, though, did it, Rob, to Tamworth?
To Tamworth? I've been back to Tamworth a few times. That's where I was starting my career, covering Tamworth, but they're doing well in the National League. So I do occasionally pop down and watch a game just to go and watch a game, to be honest, if I'm not doing a game at a weekend. So, yeah.
Did you manage to get back all right from Newport, though? That's what I was referring to.
No, it's an absolute nightmare.
That's what my brother said. He told me to ask you about it.
Absolute nightmare it was. But it always is when I go on away trips on trains. So they all seem to get cancelled, and then they're full of, not enough carriages. And no, it's a long old day when you do those trips. But it is what it is.
Lovely stuff. Dan.
Yes.
Where do you want to start tonight, mate? I mean, this seems like more like a therapy session. Obviously, we will have questions for Rob from the chat. Where do we start with Leicester City? Where would you like to start? Which problem do you want to pick up on first?
Well, Well, really, I think we need to sort of reflect on what's gone on over the past few weeks, in the fact of that, sort of what's really happened to Leicester City in general, because we had the season where we got relegated from the Premier League originally. I think the club got lucky with Enzo. I don't know. I mean, Rob might be able to tell us more so than what us can speculate at as to whether he was actually even really one of the guys that they were supposedly after. I think they just sort of stumbled across him and liked him, and he's done very well, and he's gone on to do very well. To be fair to him, it's like I work with quite a few Chelsea fans at work, obviously at work, as I say, and they were all a bit sceptical of him at the start, but now they're warming to him a lot more. And it's like what I said, he's really his first big job, and some of his football takes some getting used to, but what he does is good. And like I say, they're warming to him a lot more now than what they were, and as he's maturing with being a manager. So I think they got lucky there, and then they made this absolute hash of what he brought in, and it's just gone rapidly downhill from there on, and into what we've become, whether there's reasons of what people can understand and forgive of an absent owner, so to speak. And again, like I say, I'm sure Rob will tell us more, but we seem to have been left with a director of football who can't direct traffic, let alone a football club. And
yeah, I mean, it all depends how far you want to go back into, the origins of where Leicester City are to this day. And obviously 22-23 is the big season after they won the FA Cup and they finished 8th. And they had 3 seasons in European football, and they were planning for the big redevelopment outside the ground and the ground extension. And then everything went wrong that could go wrong. 22-23, they overstretched the budget in terms of wanting to compete for European football again. They thought that wasn't unreasonable, considering they just had 3 seasons in the top 8. Well, you can point the finger at Brendan to some extent in terms of the signings he made. For all the success he had before, I think he dropped the ball at the end, and he seemed to be wanting a way out, because a lot of the messages he was portraying publicly, and obviously I was in a lot of those press conferences, was rather on the negative side. So it wasn't. We could see there was problems brewing, but I don't think any of us predicted really. I mean, even the tweet that I put out that Madison responded to, and I was saying, look, after the Southampton defeat, if you carry on, you can't keep clean sheets and you're missing chances and you're losing games. If you don't address that, then relegation is a real prospect for this team. And it sadly, I take no pleasure whatsoever from that, because that turned out to be true. And because my fortunes are linked to the teams and the club's fortunes as well as a Leicester City writer. So I'd rather
that's kind of where we find ourselves now, though, Rob.
It's what's right, mate.
That's kind of where we find ourselves now.
Yeah, and since then,
and not being able to score goals.
Yeah, it's the age-old problem in football, isn't it? You keep it out of your net and put it in the opposition's net. It's not a complex game, really isn't. I think people overcomplicate it. But the last few years, since 22-23, they tried to gamble again. And it's public knowledge now that Graham Potter was the man they wanted on numerous occasions. When they decided to pull the trigger on Brendan, they gave Brendan probably too long a time. They should have either stayed with him to the end of the season and let him see it out himself, or do it earlier, because they left Dean Smith with no time. And they were waiting for Graham Potter, and Graham Potter was reluctant. There was a number of other characters they approached. Adi Huta was one as well. That they tried to get these top level quality coaches in, and they were looking at Leicester and thinking, do we really want to go into this scenario? Especially when it looked like the Championship was beckoning. So they've had to cut the cloth accordingly. And again, when Potter didn't want to come that summer, there was several candidates that they would have been considering. Enzo Maresca was put forward to them by an agent that looks after him, and they looked at his. I mean, because you wouldn't have looked at his managerial record and gone, "Okay, he's the man for us." He's got a wealth of experience. I mean, he only had a handful of games at Parma, but he played a progressive type of football that attracted top, and that's why we got Marti Cifuentes now, similar in many respects in terms of what he wanted. So it was an ideology that he wanted from a manager, and it did work. I mean, they backed him with the biggest budget in Championship history, and that got them back up. But they then failed to build on that. I mean, losing Enzo that summer to Chelsea might have seemed inevitable in some ways, that somebody was going to come in for him after the job he did. But so I wouldn't say they got lucky with Enzo. They picked the right man at the right time. But then since then, the decisions they've made to replace him have been poor. Steve Cooper obviously was a massive transition away from that, million miles away. When you built a team that are loyal to Enzo and play the way Enzo and like to have it all mapped out for them on the pitch, if you then go down the road of Steve Cooper, who's a very different guy, he wants the players to have personal responsibility on the pitch, certainly in the final third of the field. And we could see what was happening in terms of the Copenhagen nightclub, and you know that they weren't completely on board with Cooper. But I think there was people around the club, not besides the players, that weren't completely on board with Stephen. That's why we always use the phrase, you know, there was a lack of connection between Cooper and the. I mean, I think Cooper probably would have been the best chance for them to stay up ultimately, but you know they made that decision early rather than leave it late like they did with Brendan. But since then, it's just been a succession of problems and bad decisions, and this is fundamentally, you can keep changing the manager, and I know there's a lot of fans who will be wanting Marti Cifuentes out, but until you can change that squad, you know exactly what manager. You know, you can't go back in time and get Nigel Pearson in his prime again. You know, who sorted out that squad twice. Certainly in my time covering the club, he's done it twice. So we find ourselves in a situation at the moment where this has got to run its course, unfortunately, wherever Leicester are going to end up, because you've got players on contracts, you can't move on, and they keep repeating the same mistakes in games. You know, it looks like some of them have just lost the plot in terms of confidence and and they're senior players, experienced senior players, and they're struggling to perform. So until you can move those guys on and rebuild a young, hungry squad with a manager that's going to lead them like they did before, there could be more pain along the way, I'm afraid to say.
Rob, do you think it's a big factor of things? Obviously, people point the finger at the director of football, which is John Rugglin. The incompetence and the accountability is at his door for the big decisions that are made at the club under Top. And then obviously Top is the last man who has the last say, isn't it, to write these things off in the decision making that John goes to him with. Obviously, Leicester fans are, you know, we're very fragile, aren't we, at this minute in time, because we're hurting after all these bad decisions that keep on happening. None seems to be getting better for the football club. But what's sort of your points on how fans are feeling towards the club and that at the minute, with the people like Rudkin making the bad decisions? Obviously, Top is in Thailand more times than not. It's frustrating that obviously before the interview he'd not really spoken to it, and obviously we'd spoke about it, didn't we, on previous shows and that, about Top's commitment and that, and how much he cares about the club. But what is your thoughts on the fans' anger towards the board and that? Because I think they're right to call it out, to be fair, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I on the fans particularly, yes, there is an absolute right to vent their frustration. I mean, I was at the Norwich game away, and some of those chants did overstep a line. You know, I have to say that. No matter how you're feeling about the football club and the direction it's going on and who's leading it, some of those chants were very immature, in my opinion, and did not reflect very well on the football club, which is a great football club in terms of, you know, its warmth and its family feel, and it has always had that in the 16 years I've been covering it. But I think the fans are absolutely justified to feel angry from where they've fallen. I mean, no club has ever fallen as fast and as far as Leicester City have. as we've talked about, from fifth and eighth to then to being relegated and bouncing now, and really with the points deduction on the cards, I'd be amazed if there wasn't. 6 would be brilliant. If they just took 6, that would be a result, but it could be more because of the agitation and the aggravating factors previously. So and they're not picking up results to give them a cushion. So you got to be genuinely worried about another relegation.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, I was just when you brought up about the points section, I don't disagree with the 6, but I think that's enough because, to be honest, what frustrates and winds me up with that, as you say, about the agitation, that shouldn't really come into it. They've been done. They've got to hold their hands up and go, yeah, all right, but we make sure it doesn't happen again. You can't then punish a club because they made you look stupid. Because at the end of the day, if you go into administration, you get 12 points. How can overspending but still be financially fine be worse than going bankrupt?
Well, I agree with you. 12 points would be too much, but they're facing 3 charges, and one of those is not filing your accounts on time.
Yeah,
which is inexcusable, really, in a professional game. So they've got 3 charges. So you consider, in the past, Nottingham Forest and Everton, they've had multiple points deductions because of several charges, and then they've offered mitigation and they've had points back because they cooperated and held their hands up and gone, yeah, fair cop. We didn't realise we were doing that, and we'll take our medicine. Leicester haven't done that.
No, exactly. Yeah,
Leicester have gone, actually, you can't charge us because we weren't a Premier League club at that time, and actually we weren't an EFL club at that time as well, and they've had to rewrite their own rules because of it, because of embarrassed. So I think it will be a determination on the part of the Premier League with the EFL as a tag team to make sure Leicester City do pay a substantial price for that. Because if they don't, their credibility with all the other clubs is affected. So that's the scenario we find ourselves in, and that's the legal battle that will be ahead. And that's why I think, this could drag into the new year.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. They're never very fast at doing these things anyway, are they? So
no. What or not, and people always talk about Man City and the 115 charges they've got. When are they going to get slapped up? And it's like we need to focus on Leicester.
Yes,
as fans, we need to focus on our own club. Let's not worry about Man City. Manchester City ain't no helpers in this situation.
No, but that's just an argument to go, well, hang on it is. Focusing on us when people have done more.
Well, you could say, Dan, as well, you look at some clubs like Villa, who sold their women's team back to themselves.
Yeah.
Why haven't Leicester pulled one like that? I mean, they could have done something with Beaver Drive. They could have done something with the women's team. They haven't done any of that. What they tried to argue is, it's not unreasonable for us to have budgeted the way we did because we thought we were an established top 8 team, and then suddenly the trap door opened up and we've fallen through it. And then, but I think what the EFL and the Premier League will say, well, hang on, you did fall through the trap door, but then you didn't do enough when you fell into the EFL to cut your costs to meet the financial fair play. But I think they must have looked at that scenario and gone, well, it would have been impossible for us to meet FFP then because of the commitments we've got in contracts.
Yeah, exactly that.
Rob, the big mess Leicester's in this season, it don't really shape up to how many times we have got ourselves in these situations, but obviously the manager's come under a lot of pressure. He paid his way to be here because the club couldn't afford to hire another manager and pay money out to get somebody else in at the time. What's your sort of stance on the Marti Cifuentes thing? Because obviously fans are angry with his style of football. He's not willing to change it. His strategy is what I'm trying to say. It isn't willing to change. He keeps going with the same players who keep constantly letting him down. The fans are angry with certain substitutions that he makes. He keeps repeating himself every single time and says the same complete thing about, yeah, but we care about the fans. We want to do well for the fans, and that goes a certain long way. And I sort of feel is with Marti that it's all talk, no substance. Do you get what I'm saying? Some call him a bang average Championship manager is what's being referred to, what he is. What is your thoughts on how the Marti situation is panning itself out at the minute? Because against Sheffield United, they were 3-0 down. Maybe he could have gone after that game if it did stay at 3-0, but to get 2 goals back, the board probably thought, okay, then, well, they've managed to actually climb something back here. Maybe we've given him a bit more time. But you don't want to always think of yourself and become a club like Watford where you're sacking managers left, right and centre. But there's more problems than the manager. This is what Leicester are at the minute in time, the board, the players. They're higher than the manager. That's where the problems are laid.
Yeah.
And Marti's the, what is he, the full man, should we call it?
Yeah, I mean, I went and met Marti. I mean, I said that I'm not doing as much Leicester, but I did go down and I sit down with him. A few games into his tenure, and I spoke to him on the record and off the record, and I came away thinking this man could do a job for the club, given the tools to do the job. Bear in mind, you know, he's lost Jamie Vardy. He's had £50 million worth of talent sold in the summer. I mean, the whole delay, the summer was a mess with the whole Ruud van Nistelrooy scenario, leaving him in situ. I mean, they had to announce it on the first day of pre-season training because we all knew he was going. But you can't then have the players coming back for pre-season training and there's no Ruud van Nistelrooy there, even though we knew he wasn't going to be coming back for the start of pre-season. So they had to drag that out because they didn't want 2 managerial sackings in one financial year. So, you know, that was an absolute mess. And the pre-season's been terrible. It really has. Yeah. And I was heartened when I heard somebody tell me that when they were away and they played a friendly game behind closed doors sort of thing, a training game, and the first half of one of those performances, it was absolutely dire. And he went in and he tore a strip off them and basically said, if anybody is going to continue with that attitude, then they're not going to be playing under me and you can just go. I mean, that's great saying that, but in reality, you can't do that. And I think the players know that. But he come back and, you know, I thought at first he was trying to build. And then I think when he was going back to certain players and we were questioning why he was going back to the same players and making the same mistakes that we've been seeing for the last few years, then he's not really changing anything. And it's not the reset that Leicester City need. Then he did try and he brought Ben Nelson in. And you know, and people say, well, yeah, Jake Evans and that. He never caught. Well, they've been away at the World Cup, or the 17s World Cup as well. And Lewis Page as well. So, you know, some of these youngsters that people have been crying out to come in, you know, haven't been available. I mean, Ben came in, he's now injured as well. So he's still left with the three centre halves that, you know, they can't cut the mustard. You know, you're repeating the follies. I mean, Winks is the one that worries me when I watch him. He's far too good a player to be put in the performances he's doing right at the moment.
Yeah. He has shown that at points this season. You know, when he came back into the side after being left out, and you were like, oh my God, that's the player that we've missed the last time we were here and what he can do. And all of a sudden, he just seems to have turned that switch off again and gone back to being a bit of an arse.
Well, that mistake for the first goal against Sheffield United on Saturday. Yeah. I mean, I didn't see the game. Obviously, I was in Newport, but I've watched it since. And you just think, well, that's not him. And there's a number of the mistakes that have been made. And you're thinking these, you wouldn't put these mistakes down to international footballers. But it's you know, you just, if I can't get my head around it, you guys can't get your head around it, what's Marti Cifuentes doing? Thinking, look, I've got a Danish international here, I've got a Belgium international here, I've got an young Italian defender that's been around the international squads. What are they do? You know, and then you start to look back at the manager then and you think, well, what are you doing on the training ground with these guys? What are you doing to try and get these motivated? Because I did a feature with David Flitcroft, who, you know, had a modest playing career, managerial career in the lower leagues. But he said something to me that really stuck with me. He said, like, we're too obsessed in the modern game with tactics and formations and all this. Like I said, sometimes you just got to get around players and make them believe in themselves and give them confidence and love them and find out who they are, and then they might perform for you. And I thought that's what Nigel used to do. That is what
Yeah.
Nigel used to do. He wasn't a big tactical guy, but he used to make the players believe in what they were doing and feel confident in themselves. And if they showed like egos or anything like that, they were bombed out. But we can't really do that at the moment. So in terms of change, I know a lot of fans. I could see the comments saying, "Well, what, are they going to sack Marti Cifuentes?" Well, there's several factors in that. I mean, obviously the Cooper Van Nistelrooy scenario last season. They don't want to repeat that again. They don't want the Rodgers Smith scenario either. There's the financial situation. I mean, they've made massive cuts now, but if you have two managerial sackings in one season, and you bring somebody else in, and it's not working towards the end of the campaign, what do you do then? You've got to settle on somebody ultimately, and appreciate that the problems at this club go far beyond one man in a technical area. The problems are there's some of these players lack their own personal pride. I think sometimes, to perform. They may be a bit shell shocked as well, a bit confidence battered from the fans getting on them. But which is, what do you expect? You're at a big club that's had high expectations for a number of years, and you're underperforming, so they will criticise you. So it's time for some people to stand up and be counted in that team. Not just Marti Cifuentes, but players around that squad. It's time to show a bit of character. But I think there's far too many that we've seen over the last few years that haven't got that character. And I'm probably, you probably guess who I'm talking about. Some of the players that have only ever experienced Premier League football in relegation. So, if they, it's clear now they've had enough opportunities. They can't cut the mustard.
Yeah. I mean, I say to Jack often, with some of these players who are thinking that, they've got an easy exit out, but they've had 2 summers and a winter where nobody's sniffed at them. So, so they keep saying, "Oh, I want to leave, I want to leave, I want to leave." Well, we want you to leave. Unfortunately, you're crap. You're playing awful. You've got a bad attitude, and so nobody wants you.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, they look at their wages and go, well, the player themselves may go, we're not going to get this anywhere else, so we're going to sit tight. And the clubs that might be interested in them, as particularly overseas, are going, well, there's no way we can match those terms. I mean, the English football is on another level in terms of the wages that players can earn. Unless you're at the really top clubs in Europe, and none of these lads are going to go in there. So it's a big conundrum. It's the problem in a crux. That is for Leicester City.
That's the issue the board have got us in, though, Rob. Handing out these big wages to bang average players who don't give a toss. Some of them are out of contract in the summer. And they're like, well, we're down tool now. Well, we're not, but we don't want to be here. The fans are getting on our back. But they've got to accept criticism. Of course they have. The fans pay hard working money. They'll go to Southampton on a Tuesday night, which we've seen recently. They travel up and down the country to watch their team. And the players are just strolling around the pitch like, we don't care. Like, just do whatever, not bothered. And then they start crying on social media afterwards, like Fatawu having a go at a fan. Like, well, don't come then. If you think the season's over, don't bother supporting this club again.
Jack, I wouldn't say all the players are like that. And I think Fatawu is one of them.
Yeah.
That is hungry and wants to show and wants to perform. And I always, when I watch him this season, I think to myself sometimes he's trying too hard. Because every time he gets aboard, he knows the emphasis is on him to create something and do something. Because he's looking around.
You got something, just not enough.
Yeah, so I'd definitely throw him in that mix. The players that you can rely on will give you a shift and will try their best. I mean, it's predominantly the younger players. I mean, Jordan James, I thought was a great signing. I said this at the time at X because but he has to be played in the right role. He's not a 10. He has to be playing from deep. He has to be box to box, and he will go and score you goals. So he's another one that I wouldn't question. I know he gets a bit maligned by some fans, but Hamza Chowdhury, I'd play him more often than not because of his character, and there's a lack of leadership in that squad, and I think he could be a leader in that group. I mean, hopefully he is in the changing room, but so there are players in there that I would have some hope. I wouldn't tar them all with the same brush. But again, there's some, and they're probably the more senior
It's the ones
players.
who are on big, massive wages who
Yeah,
keep doing the same thing. Your Fasses, your Winkses, you got Bouba Samori, who's on a bigger chunk of money, who wanted to leave last season, and it's like because no one's come in for him. It's like, well, I'm stuck here on. It's like they believe in the mentality, Rob, of I don't deserve to be in the championship, but you fucking got us there, so fucking deal with it. And it frustrates the hell out of me. And then they're just putting these half-assed performances. Like, I can't be arsed.
The last time they went down, Samari and Christensen went out on loan, didn't they?
Yeah.
So,
they've had back-to-back relegations in the Prem. And then they argue it like, yeah, but I think I should be playing for a better club than this. Well, piss off then.
Well,
don't take the wages, just piss off.
But if you don't want to play for Leicester City, at least play for your own career.
That's
it.
Let's
play for your next move. Because if you run your contract down, if you run your contract down and you're only going to get paid what you're worth, and look, clubs will be looking and say he's not worth what he's asking, so we're not going to get him, and you end up being a free agent with very few options. So if they are looking to wind down their contracts and get out at the end of the season, at least play for yourselves between now and the end of the season.
You have fast moving around like he's bloody Franz Beckenbauer. Well, he believes he is. Do you get what I mean? It's that mentality. It just
basics
stinks.
of defending sometimes. Some of the goals that they can
look at the first goal against Sheffield United, bro.
Set pieces, clearing your lines, being strong, closing people down. The amount of times I've watched this season and somebody's got on the ball or in and around the box and they're so slow to go and close. And you think, I mean, this is fundamentals. They're fundamentals of the game. And that's why you're saying about a reset and getting back to basics. And interestingly, talking to Christian Fuchs about going to Newport, and he always, when I spoke to him a couple of years ago when he first started coaching, he said, "I want to play this style of football, a bit like Enzo. Plays out from the back, goalkeepers like an outfield player, and all this." Like, when I spoke to him on Saturday, he went, "Look, forget all that. That's for the future. Right now, we need to get some fundamentals in shape, in defending, in resilience, in character." Because that's the only way you're going to get yourself out of a mess. And they haven't won a home game for 259 games. So you think Leicester fans think they've got it bad? Fans haven't seen their team win at home for 259 games. So March 15th was the last time they won a game at home. So he's going into that and he's identified that the problems they've got. I mean, I just hope Marti has noticed as well that they can't carry on like this the way they're playing. In with the half-heartedness about them that he's now managing for his future as well, because as I said, there would be issues around sacking him, but doesn't mean they won't do it. Especially if the fans turn as well.
The fans did it the weekend, didn't they? Against Sheffield United, singing "You're getting sacked in the morning." And Sheffield started singing it. We're like, "I've had enough of this." And then the fans started leaving as soon as that first goal, and then they're just like, "I've had enough here." Do you know what it shows, though, Rob? And I don't know if you agree, Dan, that the fans have had enough. The club's in what would you call it, a crisis. They can see that things aren't getting better, and they're upset. They really are. You could see the amount of empty seats at the King Power before the game, and then even when the first half had ended, it was just like, this club's it's so distant in it, Rob, between the fans in the club, and that disconnect is just unreal as ever because the decline's massive, and it feels like the same people who have been doing these internal reviews, you can't find the problem because you are the problem. So what do? You just think, I've had a look at this.
That's a good a good take on that, Jack, to be honest. But in terms of these end of season reviews, they do one every year. I mean, they are mandatory. They're an annual thing. They're not a special thing. They do review what they've got right, what they've got wrong. But you're right. There's fewer. The problem is there's fewer people doing those reviews now because there's fewer people running the football club. I mean, we sadly lost Vichai. He was the main guy. He pulled all the strings. He made all the big decisions. And then below him was his son, who worked very closely on the football side, overseeing that with as the vice chairman with John, whereas Vichai operated very much on the business side of it with Susan as well, but overseeing the football side. And then you lose him, the big figurehead, the main man, gone. Then you get this disconnect between Susan and the football side of the club. I mean, Susan used to dip into the football side of it in terms of like her relationships with the Premier League board and the CEOs at other football clubs, and she was very highly respected by them in the Premier League. She, over the last couple of years, she's been sort of pushed aside, and then you end up with, instead of having 4 people running the management side of the club, you end up with 2. And Top's obviously distracted over in Thailand, picking up the pieces from not only his father's death but COVID and the impact on the King Power Empire, and he started his own family as well. So there's a massive. He's got a lot of distractions going on over in Thailand. He can't focus completely on. So you end up with one person looking after the football side of it. And I've been saying this for a long, long time. You need more, and now that's why we've had the changes. You know, I mean, I've been predicting for a while that John would end up as like an advisor to Top. I still think he'll have a lot of power at the football club. I mean, Top ultimately everybody goes on about the decisions that John Rudkin makes. I believe it's John. Sorry, it's Top that makes the decisions, and it's John that advises him and tries to guide him.
Rob, could you answer that one from Phil? I'll just answer some of the fans' questions now. Actually,
ultimately, it will be Top, and he will do a interview process like he does with all the managers. He meets all the managers before he appoints them. It's not John Rudkin. John will bring up a shortlist, and he will try and he will be involved in that process. But ultimately, it's Top. I mean, that's why I wasn't surprised when all the talk in the summer about Russell Martin and stuff like that, and I was saying it's not my information. Russell Martin's not going to be in the running. And if you needed any doubt about that, you just listen to the fans at Bournemouth from the last game of the season.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So if you wanted to try and win back supporters, you're not going to appoint a manager that they vocally said we don't want. But no, I think that was just. There's a lot of games that get played in the media and with agents and that who try and push forward their own candidates for certain jobs, and they use other clubs as leverage. And I think that was the case there, because I think really he wanted the Rangers job. But, they did speak to other people, as we know. Chris Wilder's come out and said, he had an interview. Yeah. But for my to be honest. Exactly. I mean, you'd be daft not to do due diligence and speak to a certain number of managers. But I was, from what my understanding was, very early on, Top wanted to go back to a manager like Enzo that played a certain brand of football, and Marti Cifuentes was that sort of character that they wanted. So, and he was cheap. He wasn't going to be a massive expense. Exactly.
I agree.
Just in regards with the move into a technical director and everything else like that, it's like what Jack and I discussed many a times. We'd accept what Top's had to deal with if he then surrounded himself by, sort of the best in class of what the position we're in. But it seems like he's not. And like I said, left Rudkin in charge of stuff who, I don't know whether he thought he could do it all himself or what. But no one man can run a football club in that manner. As you said, you have to be a team and surround yourself with the correct people. And we just seem to have been, even before with Brendan and what was happening there, we seem to be so slow. We're very reactionary. We're not proactive anymore. And I think that's the other thing that's a massive disappointment with the fans. Like we were always classed as, we want to be the next Leicester City, outside of our club, which was something to be proud of as well. And now it's like, everybody wants to be anything but us, because like I say again, we've gone from being that proactive step forward football club and bringing in new innovations to, like I say, to just sitting on our hands and watching it fall around us and going, what the heck do we do now? And pointing fingers as to who to blame, instead of looking at themselves and going, no, right, look, this is what's worked. Let's get ourselves back on a firm footing first, and then we can go forwards. And where I'm like with many, I am 50-50 with Marty, only purely because it can't always be down to the manager. I know they're the easiest person to get rid of, probably the least costly as well. But at some point, as you say, you've got to stop and you've just got to ride it out and wait and and move forwards. Once we can get rid of people who don't want to be there or claim they want to be but don't perform. But like I say, it's more the fact of that we're not that proactive club anymore. We're not a club to be proud of. And, regardless of whatever football we played, I mean, even under Holloway and things like that, where it was pretty turgid, we were still proud Leicester City fans, whereas at the minute, we're just not. We're a bit of a joke. And that's the worst thing about us at the minute.
In terms of being proactive, you're right. I mean, if you look at the previous managerial sackings and appointments, then there hasn't been a clear and obvious successor. Each time a manager was sacked, we've gone through a process afterwards. So that would display a lack of planning. But as I said, the plan was always Potter, but he kept turning them down until in the end they went, no, we can't keep going down this road. He's not coming.
That's it.
And having seen, what's happened, would he have been the answer?
No,
it's very difficult. I mean, I saw somebody talking about Russell now for Leicester, but he had a disaster at Rangers. He's tarnished now, and so
at this level.
No. So who is realistic that you can get in at this stage? It's still going to tick the boxes in terms of finances, and then get you going again. If you decide to get rid of Marti Cifuentes, and I have to say, if the form continues, then they probably will make a decision. But I think they will do so reluctantly. They really want to give him as much time as possible, and hope that he can turn it around. But it's up to him to do it ultimately. But he's not working with the best pack of cards he could play. That's for sure.
No, absolutely not. No, but at the same time, he does keep forcing situations upon himself by not giving him the best chance with, like I say, as we discussed earlier, keep playing JJ in a 10. I know we're limited, but, you have to figure out a way to have your best players in the best positions to give you the best fighting chance. And then you fit other people in around it. But...
Perhaps change the system. Try and get more of the characters in that you want. Perhaps change. I mean, I can't say play with two strikers because they haven't got one. So Patson Daka scored one goal in a year. And I've got very little confidence that Carranza is going to be the goal scoring answer. And then you've got Jordan Ayew, and all your goals are coming really from JJ or. Mavridis finally stepped up. He had a bit of a wobble early in the season as well, didn't he? So he started to step up a little bit now. But it is. You wonder where it's all leading.
The thing is, Rob, you look at it and you look at Jamie Vardy. Scored 4 goals this season.
I was watching today. I watched that game today. I mean, they were
2, didn't he?
Classic Vardy goals.
And then you just look at all 3 strikers combined, and he scored more goals than what they've got between them. So
he scored 4 in 9 now, and that's in Italy, where it's very difficult to score goals.
Yeah.
Chances are at a premium. But if you look at the finishes, the one against Juventus as well, when he outmuscled the centre half and then left him for dead with pace at nearly 39. He's 39 in January. And then slipped it in the bottom corner. And the first goal against Bologna, where he's given the keeper the eyes. So he thinks he's going to his right, and he just taps it down the middle of the goal. I mean, they're classic Vardy goals, and you're going to miss that. But it was always going to be difficult to replace him. But I don't think any of us thought it was going to be this difficult to find somebody that can put some of these chances away.
Well, this is the club not having a plan again. When Jamie were leaving, and he obviously brought out the video and that, and obviously he left for whatever reason with the club in the end. They should have had a plan of who to bring in next, because Patson Daka, he ain't cut the mustard for bloody years. He only scored, 1 goal in about 350 odd days against Stoke.
Nearly a year. And that's for club and country.
Only 2.
Yeah, and so it feels like a long time ago, doesn't it, when they had Ujoa, Kramaric and Vardy and Nugent.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Exactly. But this is down to the people again at the top. But then people look at Top's interview. I do think something was more kind of off it with he knew what was coming regarding the court case hearing and that. 'Cause you look at that, and then the court case hearing comes a week later, and it's like, okay, then it's come out at the right time, hasn't it? But then people thought it'd come out. He'd sort of done it after the Norwich game, when all them chants started happening. He'd been forced to do it, but he did it on the Friday before the Norwich game, and it's like,
I think there's been people. There's been one of the problems the club have had with the fans is there's been a lack of communication for a number of years, right? They've not, and this all stems from 22-23. They should have come out. One of them should have come out and spoke publicly about where the problems have been, what the decisions they made that gone wrong, and what they're going to do to fix it. Nobody did. I mean, they've always had this attitude of when we were winning, we didn't speak. So when we're losing, we're not going to speak. Well, that doesn't work. And so this has festered now for a few years. I think there is now a desire or an understanding that they have to sort of reconnect with the fans to communicate more. And I think you will see that over the coming months. I think you will see an increase of communication. I don't think it'll be John Rudkin, but I think, you might see something, people talking publicly. Obviously, I can't say, but there are some sort of plans. So you might get an increase in communication. I think the technical director that comes in will be he'll probably be more of a public figure as well in terms of speaking to us. Who that's going to be, I mean, that process is ongoing at the moment. They've got to find the right candidate to come in and do that. I mean, I would love it to be somebody that has already a connection with the fan base, because that would really help the situation as well. I mean, Top's still the acting CEO. They've brought in a managing director from King Power, a young girl. She's going to be trying to look after the marketing side of the football club. So they're trying to put some layers back in at the moment. I mean, that's all I can say at the moment. But I think you will find there'll be increased communication.
Well, that's something we can only hope for. To be fair, it feels like a bloody miracle, doesn't it, Rob? When you talk,
you just want answers, don't you, as fans?
Exactly.
You just want some answers.
Yeah. Back to your comment earlier. If we talk when we're winning. Nobody needs to hear from you when you're winning, because everybody's happy. They don't want any answers.
Going wrong.
It's only when shit hits the fan that people want to know why. What the heck's gone on? As I say,
but it's not only that. It's not only answering your questions, Dan. It makes you feel like you matter if they're talking to you. It makes you feel like you're important at the football club. And the fans are the lifeblood of any football club, and they certainly are at Leicester City. So you should talk to them, and you should show. I mean, I hate it when people compare football clubs to like Sainsbury's. These big corporate entities, just treat you as customers, because you're not customers. Because if you were fed up of Sainsbury's, you go down Morrison's. Other supermarkets are available, of course, Jack. But you guys can't walk away. It's part of your DNA now.
That's it. It's like we say often. It's like, with what's happening with Top and things like that, it doesn't matter what they do. We'll always still be here, regardless, until we die. We'll always be a supporter of Leicester City. Whereas they won't. If they sell the club and move on, they probably never see him again. So, I
don't think, Dan, I don't think that's what Top wants to do. I think he's too emotionally, and his family are too emotionally connected to the football club now. And I can see a situation where they might get an investor in, they might get a partner in, but I don't think they want to sell the club because of the father. The monument there, the memorial garden. He died outside that stadium. It's been, and there's also the factor that in Thailand, it's a great source of. Well, it was a great source of civic pride that a Thai-owned football club was challenging at the top of the Premier League, and they want to get it back there. That's why I'm saying if there might be an investor come in the future that could be from Thailand as well to help with the situation. But as I've said all along, it's not a case of not having the money. It's not like Top and the club are short of money; they just can't spend it. Because of the profit and sustainability regulations that they're operating under at the moment.
Let's indulge into the championship season this season. The start, 6 wins, 6 draws, 6 defeats in the league. Leicester's mess seems to go from off the pitch to on the pitch with the players, a new manager, and what we're sitting 16th in the Championship, Rob.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that.
It looked close to League One still, with the points deduction hindering over us. If we get big points deduction, we could be going to League One.
When I went to Norwich, I went up to the Coach and Horses, which was one of the designated away pubs, because I wanted to speak to some fans and find out how they're feeling. And I've done it a few times when I do that. And then, I mean, they were in a much better position in the table. But they were saying, look, if you look, they're always looking behind them. They're not looking up the table. Nobody seems to be looking at playoffs or promotion. They're looking at behind them because they know what could potentially be coming down the line in terms of sanctions. Obviously, I mean, that wasn't a great performance. At half time, the fans were really upset, and then they turned it around. And Norwich I watched Norwich the next 2 weeks later after the international break away at Birmingham to do a piece on them. And they looked all over the shop. But I do think they've got a manager in that could turn their fortunes around now with Clement. But he's the sort of character I think, Leicester could have done with, somebody who's a bit more pragmatic. But, even then, when the situation wasn't as dire as it is now, after the home defeats they've had since then, people were thinking, looking over his shoulder, League One could be beckoning it.
Well, I think a lot of us have, because, like I say, with this speculation of whatever this points deduction may or may not be, I think that's always been a fear factor with most fans. Like I've always said, considering the squad that we've got, we should be far, far doing a lot more than what we currently are, and it really shouldn't have been even a significant matter to us. Of the squad that we have and the size that we are, unless we were going to get something completely ridiculous, which, as we spoke about earlier, would be just silly, we was always likely to make a minimum of the playoffs, if not a bit more.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they should be doing a lot better than they're doing in terms of the players they've got in the squad, the quality that we've seen in the past, but they're just not doing it at the moment, and that's the big problem for Marti Cifuentes, and that's why he's got to sort out. There's players there who are underperforming that compared to what they've, done in the past. So I see somebody said, "What were you drinking in the pub, Rob?" Yeah, I did have a beer. It'd be rude not to, wasn't it? And I met a couple of friends that I've made over the years covering Leicester, who are big Leicester fans as well. So Ian Wright's one of them that does quite a few of the shows as well. So, yeah. No, I did not drink. Top was not there.
Someone's accusing you now, Rob. You need to be careful.
I always get accused of being in the paid employment of the football club. Even when I tear them to pieces,
Michael,
I still get accused of being in paid employment of football. But what I try and do is be even and level, and tell you how they might be thinking based on conversations that I have with people. Yeah, because I can't be a fan. When I'm covering the football club, I have to be sort of down the middle and say, look, this is what they probably think. But then I can give my own judgment as well about what I think they've done wrong. But I'm not a spokesman for the football club. Because if I was a spokesman for the football club, I probably wouldn't be speaking.
I think we've been awful this season. We've deserved what we've got in performances. I can't really think of one performance where I think, we've done well this season. You look at some of the performances, lads, where 15, 20 minutes, you look at the Norwich game, the last 15, 20 minutes in that game where we changed it, and then the Swansea second half, far better. The Birmingham game, we were okay in big spells of that game where we ended up getting
performance. What was the best performance you've seen this season?
I won't really say one, really. Sometimes we've been lucky, haven't we, to get probably the points that we've got.
Because you mentioned the Birmingham game, and I thought Birmingham didn't have the cutting edge in the final third, which seems ridiculous now, the form they've been on.
We've been shit, basically.
But Leicester did, and I thought that was the difference in the day in terms of Fatau and some of the other attacking talents that Leicester had that day. Birmingham seemed to dominate midfield. I haven't seen an all-round 90 minutes yet from Leicester this season.
No, that's none of us have. Like I said, we've said that for quite a few
We've been honking, basically, And
We've got
We
away
just
with
get
scoring big
just get
goals.
battered in games, and we're lucky because the team can't put the ball away at the other end. The Sheffield United could. They put 3 past us in 30 minutes.
Well, 2 in 4 is bad enough, Jack. I mean,
Yeah.
that's at that level.
Yeah.
That's 2 batterings in the first halves we've took in it in
And
Southampton and Sheffield United. And you thought, you know what, we can't get worse than Southampton away. And we did. It's like, hold on. 1 minute in, you're 1-0 down.
The biggest concern for me is set pieces, the desire to defend.
Shocking.
Clear your lines and properly clear your lines as well.
Yeah, we've not had that for a long while. You know, even under Brendan, we conceded corners. You know, it was literally if side got a corner, then it might as well have been a penalty.
Oh yeah, I remember that because I did features on that. You know, their set piece woes, and he did try to switch it from zonal to man marking, and then he tried a mix of zonal man marking, and none of it's worked because of the profile of player he's got. That ultimately, and that's down to character, the desire to go and attack the ball and win it.
We ain't got that.
No. I mean, the at Southampton, I mean, they were 2 terrible goals. It's just desire to go and head the ball, and Howard Bellis showed more desire. To go and head the ball.
We've got no fighters in this team, Rob. We've got no leader on the pitch. Ricardo,
a lovely bloke.
He speaks well. Do you get what I mean? I just don't see him as a leader. I don't physically.
I can't see him bollocking anybody.
But he's not ruthless. No. He's not a Wes Morgan or a Robert Huth or Batalescu who's going to nut you as soon as you put a bad sort of performance in it. You know, someone who's going to grab you by the scruff of your neck. I know Nigel Pearson did that to James McArthur on the touchline. You know, you want someone a bit like Nigel, someone who's going to throttle them every now and then. Say, you know what, lads, we're not having this. But you know, you look at it where we are. 3 wins in 14 league games now for Marti. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better soon. Then you look at fans. Fans will always say to me, do you look forward to going games now? And you sort of look at the games because the same scenario keeps panning out, the same start of how we start games. We're too slow, too predictable. And then you got teams absolutely running at us. And every time they go forward, they look like we're going to score. And you look at Stoke. They terrorised us in the first half, and they probably should have got a few goals in there, but we ended up taking 2 shots on target and scored both, luckily.
It was terrible to see fans on social media walking out before half-time.
Yeah.
On Saturday. I mean, I did look back over those. And
that's how bad it's got, Rob.
And you think, has it come to this?
Yeah.
You know, but it has, unfortunately, but you've got to react to it now. It's down to the players to react.
And surely you would think that must hurt the people at the club at the top there to watch that happening, you know, because that is a judgment, an indictment of what they're turning out, you know.
Yeah, I think it must hurt everybody that's at the football club to see the fans walking out. And I think now, if there was any question about arrogance in the past, about taking the fans for granted, I don't think that's the case now. I think the fans have spoken, but there does come a time where if you're going to get out of this mess, then you know the fans are going to have to get behind them as well and support them, and I'm sure they will when the time comes when they see something that that gets them fired up again. You know, whether that is a couple of youngsters coming in and performing and giving them something to cheer. But you know, at the moment, the right to vent their frustration and let people know that they're not accepting this. But ultimately, though, then you've got to all pull together. Otherwise, you will be in League One with those sanctions coming.
Rob, do you think the job's too big for him? Because people will always say to Marti, if you go in next summer when all these big paid merchants are out the door, and then they have a complete refresh, he'd have been better off because he's coming like a firefighter, isn't he? There's only so much water you can put on a fire before putting it out.
Is this job too big for him? Was the job too big for Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's managed PSV Eindhoven?
I think his ego were bigger than Leicester City. Van Nistelrooy's, Rob. It proved it.
I think, as I said before, I think these problems go far deeper than the guy in the technical area.
It does.
He wants to pick the team, but it's the team that he's got to pick from.
Exactly.
That seems to be a big issue at the moment. So no, I don't think the job's too big for Cifuentes. I didn't think it was too big for Enzo. I mean, when Nigel Pearson came in, he was a rookie manager in many ways. He'd only had a brief spell at Carlisle and a caretaker role previously at Southampton. So, this is what's pulling me back from saying, he should go, because I can't see who you're going to bring in and anything dramatically is going to change.
I think managers are going to look at Leicester and think, yeah, we don't want this. We don't want it at all. They're not going to want it at all.
The Wilder quotes, Jack, suggested that he did.
Yeah, but he's that character. He's a strong-minded character who will deal with them things. He's a no-nonsense manager. You either with him or without him. And if you're without him, it's see you later. He'd have none of this bollocks at what's going on with these players at Leicester. He'd be straight in on them from day one. If you're not going to play for him, he'll call you right out, and so he should. But he's a proper championship. I don't think Marti's got that ruthless streak in him, Rob. I just think
he's got to show it. He's got to find it.
He ain't got it.
That's it. But the other problem is, though, with that, Jack, is that it's all right saying that, but then we don't have any depth in quality anymore.
No, we ain't.
To do that. But just another one, just with that, though, Rob, do you know what is the club's financial situation at the minute? We know they've said it's improved and, we're clear of FFP or whatever they're going to call it now. I mean, they've changed it again, haven't they, to only a budget of what you can spend on players.
A ratio.
Yeah, that's it.
That's coming in the future. That's not yet. But I mean, certainly in Premier League, the Premier League voted a continuation for another year of the current FFP. But obviously that doesn't affect Leicester now. They're in the Championship. But the ratio has been something that's been offered for a while, because, that figure of 105 million over 3 years was a bit of a nonsense, especially when you had Man City and Luton Town in the same division. Losing 105 million for a club like Man City is nothing. As I've said previously. That's the change down the back of the sofa in the players' lounge. Luton Town would be in crisis if they lost 105 million. So that's a whole. That none of those sums add up for me, and never have. And I'm not a big fan of FFP. Because I find it's just a ceiling for the clubs that aspire to challenge the elite, and everything's those clubs are being protected. Because the secret to getting out of FFP problem is to grow your revenue, to keep growing your revenue, and that's why Leicester had those big plans for outside the stadium, because their revenue would have been massively boosted. But you got to be in the right position to do them, and they're not now. So that's a long way off now.
But like I say, again, it's something that does prevent investment, because if somebody can't invest properly, then they're not going to gain anything from it.
Well, you can invest millions, billions, but you can't spend it on your team.
Yeah.
So perhaps you could invest it on your infrastructure, which is what they could do down the road. I mean, that might be why they're looking for probably somebody to come in and help a little bit, because you could get that project going, and that would help your scenario going forward. But at the moment, boosting Kings Power Stadium to 40,000 when you probably only got 15,000 in after half time because you're 3-0 down. It isn't a great look.
No. But just like I say, so just with that, as I say, with the financial situation, whether it's improved or not, because we've got a lot off the wage bill, it's their flexibility in January to bring in players to supplement the squad, and perhaps sign AJ permanently and things like that. Or we still walk the fine line.
Yeah, I think you're still a bit of a way away from seeing the investment in the team that you've had before. I wouldn't be surprised if there was nothing spent in January again, unless they were really down, and they decided to have a little gamble. You take your punishment in terms of the points deduction, but I'd be very surprised if there was anything spent in January. There might be a bit of wheeling dealing. You might have to sell. Might have to sell somebody to generate any sort of funds that you can reinvest.
To do that, I mean, there was rumours of Patson Daka going for 10 million and things like that. That was turned down.
His hand off. Anybody offered 10 million?
Well, that's what I mean.
In the end.
No, I'm not. For as far as I'm aware, there's not been any really viable. There's been interest, but there's a difference between saying, "Oh, we're quite interested in him. What would you? What would be acceptable for you?" And you go, "Right, okay, this is what our price would be."
I go Walkers at the minute.
Yeah, so I think January is not going to be a great fluid month in terms of like doing business, but you never know. Technical director could come in, and there could be a bit of wheeling dealing done, and you might see an asset sold. But in terms of like a lot of people keep asking about signing JJ, I think that's down the line. I think that's one for the summer. I don't think that's something that they'll be looking at in.
I think it's more because fans are scared of losing him.
That's
more what it is than anything. Because there is this 4 million clause or euro clause, isn't there, or whatever it is, in his contract for us to sign him. I think fans are desperate for a bit of good news, and can we get him in permanently and keep him before somebody else swipes him from under our nose because we dilly-dally and got no money.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think there's going to be many positives for the next 12 months.
No.
For Leicester fans, unfortunately. You're going to have to ride this out. This is like the hangover, that you've had from, having 7-8 years of, fantastic times and great memories and stuff. You're paying a little bit of a price this season and our previous few seasons now.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better, unfortunately, I think. Until you can have a clear out when you're in that position that they can reinvest in the club as well, because a lot of those big contracts are gone, and then you can start promoting something. I mean, that's the big plus for me. That is the hope that you can cling on to a bit, is that academy is still producing players. I know Bader had a disaster debut, and I was gutted for him because I went and scouted him a few times this season. For the column I did, prospects, and I think he's got something.
Yeah,
it's a big step up. It's a big step up. It's a big step up, and he's going to learn from that.
And playing out of position at the end of the day. He's a right back. I said it is a big step up, but also especially when you play him out of position as well. He's not a left back. He's a right back stroke right centre half. So you've killed him before he's even started.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
To be honest, the experience didn't help him at all. They hung him out to dry. Didn't get around him. They didn't say, Vestergaard, the experienced leader who he wants to be, should be, just get in here. Don't do anything silly now. Just hold your ground. And he done none of that. He just left him out there to die.
Yeah, but when you're throwing a kid in away from home against a team that's doing well, that's in form, that's going to test you defensively, and you play him on the left when he's a right-sided player, that is on the manager. I mean, this is the big thing about throwing youngsters in. It's got to be the right time, because you could do more damage than good if you throw them in at the wrong time and in the wrong situation. And I know there's a lot of fans going, "Oh, we'll just play the kids," and then we're saying it at the end of last season, just throw the kids in. But you could do more damage than good doing that. You've got to be really careful when you play them. Ben Nelson is ready, and it's unfortunately got injured. He is ready now to come in. I'll tell you what, I watched, because I keep talking about when I went to Newport. Sammy Braybrook was outstanding. I mean, honestly, I watched him for 90 minutes, and he looked like he's another level to every other player on that pitch. He was picking up the ball. He was beating people, taking the ball in tight spaces in front of his back four. He was bursting forwards. He laid on a great pass for their second goal, where he beat all their midfield, just ran through them, and then just slided a little pass. I mean, but it's a big difference coming up to that level. Yeah. But I think he's now ready to play proper senior football. Yeah.
Who does Rob support?
Well, I've got several. I mean, I grew up covering Birmingham City. That was the first team I was taken to as a kid. But I grew up in Germany and support Borussia Mönchengladbach, and I'm doing a column at the moment about forces kids like me that grew up supporting Northern German teams in the Bundesliga, and obviously Tamworth. I used to go and watch Tamworth in my youth, because when I was playing junior football, my coach was a guy called Andy Maddox, who played centre forward for Tamworth. So we'd have a training session on a Saturday morning, and we'd all go down the Lamb and give him abuse from the terraces in the afternoon, and then play our game on the Sunday.
Dan, I want to touch on what you said about Aluko.
Yeah.
I put that down to the manager, personally. because he had nothing else.
Yeah,
He had nobody else to put there, right? I mean, he could have played Ricardo, and I don't understand why experienced players who are on a lot of money can't play 2-3 games a week. I get the injury record, right? But if you can't play 3 games a week or 2 games a week in the Championship, it's a problem in itself, and that shows you clearly not a leader of this team. If
it is, but again, he also had the option of putting Hamza at left back and playing
exactly
right back,
That's
because at least Hamza has the experience to know when to do something and when not to, and when he's on a timeline. Like I say, you know, with kids, and I've experienced in my own coaching career. And Rob's right. You can do far more damage to a kid than you can benefit them if it goes wrong. You know, and I don't think that could have gone any worse for the poor lad. And I really feel for him. Like I say, he was slung in a role, and we've had it on here where people have been going, "Oh, play Luco, play." I'm like, no, don't do that, because what happened is exactly what I expected to happen.
Tarnished the confidence completely.
It's different. The players are so much faster. They're so much more alert. They're so much more aggressive than what they are in academy football. Academy football is pass. Nobody really tackles that much, and that's how they go. You know, it's more about how they play than what they can do when they step up. And
Dan. So we've covered PSR with Rob. We've covered the board, the players, the overpaid merchants, should we call them, in the team? Certain individuals anyway we want to get rid of. We've discussed the manager about how much pressure he's under, probably going into this weekend's game. It could be his last game, it could not. It depends how much this club and what they're doing regarding Marti at the minute. Only he's going to know that. Is there anything else you really want to cover about the mess of Leicester City? Is there anything we've missed?
No, I don't think so. I think Rob's done very well for us tonight. It's been a pleasure to have him with us.
Is there any other questions that from the watchers?
This one from Scott. So do you believe, Rob, we could be for relegation this season?
Yeah, if they get hit with 9 points in the new year and the form continues the way it is, yes, they could be. I mean, Sheffield United have been down there, and first half they made mincemeat of Leicester last week. So, you know, don't underestimate the teams below you, because they're showing some fight. And that's why Leicester have got to show some fight. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday, I keep getting hit left, right and centre. I hate for Leicester to get in that position where they're getting... I mean, I don't think the club's situation, you know, is anywhere near like administration, but getting those sort of points deductions just kills your season. I mean, what are their fans thinking going every week? I think, what's the point? You know, we're down already. Norwich, I think, might show a bit of life later in the season, but they were dreadful when I've seen them previously, the last 2 times against Leicester and Birmingham. And there's a few other clubs down there that are struggling, but Leicester are struggling, and they need to show some character now. Otherwise, yes, there will be. What's that? Conkers.
Great to see of your world, Rob. Ask RT if the Conkers he went to watch have more spirit and resilience than this group of players.
I did. I'll tell you what. I went and did the World Conker Championships.
Yeah.
I had a bout with King Conker, an exhibition bout, and I bored him to death because I couldn't hit his conker, and he gave up and sat down. The man's 80. Yeah. But then I also did a sumo at the Royal Albert Hall. And if you ever get the chance to go and watch sumo live, do it. And these men are absolutely enormous. And they're not just fat, they're power. 30 stone of power. That was incredible.
Rob, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, severance, it won't be too much. £2 million, possibly. I don't know Martin O'Neill's been approached so many times to come back to Leicester, and he's always said no. Yeah. Having said that, he went back to Celtic. So never say never in football. But would he come in and save them for the last? I'll tell you what, he would get them organised. Yeah, they would be organised, and he wouldn't suffer any egos. And this is the thing about we've got a new generation of coaches coming through. And they've got some fantastic ideas about how the game can be played. And I watch the coaches' voices on YouTube, and they're moving all that, and this is how they want to play and all this stuff. And it's fantastic. But I still go back to the fact, I mean, perhaps it's my age, that you've just got to motivate players and make them believe in what they're doing and go out and do the basics right and then build on that. That's your foundation. At the moment, Leicester can't do the basics right. That's defend set pieces, close people down, work hard. Everything else will come after that. But no, an old school Martin O'Neill coming in. I don't know whether they would listen to him now. These sort of players these days, I think some of them would definitely respond to him. The younger players would definitely respond to him. They would still respond to Nigel Pearson if he come back. But no, I think this is the thing. So you watch some of the guys that have been at the club. I mean, Brian Barry Murphy's doing brilliant at Cardiff.
Yeah,
he was there last season.
Yeah,
you know, it's not always the coach or the manager.
It's the players.
I was going to say, was he actually in the frame for getting the job? Because there was rumours that he was in the frame for getting the job up.
No, I don't think so. He was already out the door to Cardiff before everything was. I mean, there was quite a few people jumping ship. I know somebody was asking about Andy King earlier. King, I mean, he's such an important character down there. He's that one link between them. I hate to keep going to the past, but I was so impressed talking to Christian Fuchs at the weekend. I know this is his first job at Newport, but he's the sort of guy that I'd love to see manage the club in the future, because I know he's really ambitious, and he's the sort of character, if you know him, when he commits to doing something, it doesn't matter whether it's his clothing line, whether it's his esports teams, or whether it's his academies. He just sees it through, and he always seems to succeed. Yeah, and that's what you want. You want a winner. You want a leader.
Absolutely, 100%. And as well, he would be somebody that would probably get a bit more grace if things weren't going right. Unlike for Marti, because one, he's not afraid to talk. He's quite good at that.
He is very good at that. Yeah.
but not only that, like I said, because of his history within the club and how he is loved and respected for what he done as a player. So. Who knows?
Yeah, he's got a legacy at the club, and he wouldn't want to tarnish that. But I just genuinely think that's the sort of character that the club needs, is somebody that's going to roll the sleeves up, work hard, get back to basics, sort out the nonsense, get the players that aren't performing or showing a bad attitude, sort them out, and then build from there. I mean, the classic example that I always go back to from my 16 years was after Sven. And when Sven had this philosophy of having 2 world-class players in every position, but of course that doesn't make for a great squad, because there's a lot of jealousy, ego. It didn't work, and then Nigel come in and said, "There's no such thing as a big-name player. There's just big wages," and he bombed half of them out, and he was able to bomb them out because Vichon backed him, and he built a proper team after that.
Yeah.
Rob, you'll be all right soon, mate. They'll get you going down there to Seagrave, in the holiday camp, and getting you a nice massage and that. Twinkle your toes a bit,
Yeah, it's just an amazing training ground.
And in the gym and all that, all the luxury stuff. You can even play golf with them, Rob. That's fantastic. You can have a right laugh with them and kick about. How good's that for you, rather than working?
I've not been invited to play the golf down there yet.
He just creates crazy golf.
Brendan used to think that was like a real treat. Excuse me, a real treat for them. So we won't let them play unless they achieve something, and then they could go and play the course.
They're just getting away with it, aren't they now? Do you know what, Robin? The club put all these videos out now of them training and that, and I just think it's the whole setup scene of, it's all right, boys, look like you're doing something on camera, and when we switch it off, just go back to normal. Have a great laugh.
I think when you watch the training sessions, they are well structured, and the players seem to be enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
there's something going wrong when they cross the line.
Yeah,
go out and play. I don't know whether it's confidence. I don't know whether it's some of them are egos, or some of them are just like been so worn down by previous.
It's like the show up, Rob, thinking, do you know what? This game's already won. That mentality. Oh, I'm better than you. Our team's better than yours. And they just think, that's an easy 3 points. And they said that at Preston, didn't they, with Paul Gallagher, when he was on about it. You could tell in training that they were leading up to the match, that they thought the game were already won. And this is what I think some of the individuals are doing. They look at
if they still think that now, where the position they are in the league and the run they're on, then they are truly deluded.
You tell them, Rob. That's it. Delusional. Simple as that. You say it as you see it, Rob, mate. You keep writing them reports on them, Rob. Just don't end up falling out with a player the way you did with Maddison.
No, honestly, I've seen Maddison since, and I don't think there's an issue.
You have? Has he apologised?
I covered the with Tottenham FA Cup game last season. He was on the pitch afterwards. Brilliant, he was. Talking to all the fans, Tamworth fans and Spurs fans, signing autographs, posing photos. I've got no issue with James Maddison whatsoever. I just think he didn't take what I wrote about. I think he took it too literally. It was just a warning. It was not you are getting relegated, although they did get relegated. But
at the end of the day, it did come true. So But
if you don't do the basics right, then you're not going to have any success. As I said right at the start of this whole show, football's not a complex game. It really isn't. It's you've got to have desire and character, and the tactics on top. Brilliant. That's when you really hit the top. But the rest of the time, you just got to give your all and just be honest to yourself and to the fans and to the club.
There we go. Right, Rob. Thanks for coming on, mate. I know we've kept you for over an hour, but
it's all right, mate. No problem.
Keeping up with you, and I hope you're doing well. All the best to your dad as well. Send the love to him.
Cheers. Thank you.
We'll catch you again soon, Rob.
Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you,
cheers,
guys.
Mate. Take care.
No, cheers.
Damn, that's it, mate. You're back. You're the voice of reason for a reason, mate. I mean, I could have probably lost my head through some of that, to be fair, with some of the stuff I wanted to. No, I did get it out in the end. I sort of go on a bit of a tangent, but I don't get a toss, to be fair. You got to say it as you see it. It's no good beating around the bush and acting like some of these players we play well. Results are going to come. If we keep playing the same, results are going to come. Mate, not out the way you lot of playing up, mate, with piss poor performances and that, and thinking you can just show up and that's it. No, we're like that.
Yeah,
it's an hard life.
It's a tough watch at the minute. It really is.
We're watching Four Fingers, Dan, and we probably ain't got much left, mate. The amount of times we've bitten them off, mate.
That's it.
We've bit off more than we can chew, Dan, watching Leicester. Let's be certain about that one.
Yeah, exactly that.
Guys, hit the like button. There's been quite a lot of you in actually tonight. So subscribe as well. Really appreciate it. What should we set the like target as? 60?
Yes, minimum. Yeah.
We'll set 60, yeah.
Without when you've been in, yeah.
How long do you keep Marti for? Well, I think the Derby game is going to be telling. If you don't win it the weekend, it's see you later. Go and get another manager. Simple as that.
I don't think it will be, but
you don't. I honestly think it could be his last hurrah. If he loses it the weekend to Derby, that's it. I think
even more so now with what Rob's just been saying to us.
Yeah,
in regards with having not particularly a lot of money still, and having two managers sacked again in the same financial year. That's what we've got to remember.
A lot of managers get the job. They do.
Yeah,
it's about results, and you get the chop, don't you?
Of course, football is about results, but at the same time, we've put ourselves in a position where we can't just keep getting rid of people, and as well, if this new technical director comes in and the next manager that's potentially walking through the door, if Marti does go, what happens then? If he goes, well, he ain't really good enough, and he ain't what we should be doing, and this ain't the direction we should be going in. At the end of the season, if 3 or 4 results ain't going for him, is that yet another one? And then that's 3 managers gone in the same season, technically.
Bloody hell, they've scored more goals in our strike force. What's going on?
Yeah.
Until Jamie Vardy did it yesterday. Man City and Fulham are doing it tonight. Unbelievable. Exactly. Right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. I hope you've enjoyed the chat with Rob Tanner about the mess at Leicester City. We have tried covering everything. So we do appreciate it. We'll be back Thursday for the predictions, match preview, match day vlog, Saturday for the East Midlands derby. That one could be tasty. We could be watching it for our fingers. Let's see what happens. See you soon. Take care.